Guys, I haven't really done this before with drawing class, and I'm not sure how it's going to work, but I've done it a couple times with my design class, which is to say, make a screen recording as I work on something on screen, and have you watch it and see if it's at all helpful. I hope it is. I'm sorry about this. We're still figuring out ways to teach something like drawing, which is so hands-on, teach it to you guys remotely. So I've got a drawing started here. Now look, I'm working on my iPad with a stylus. If you want to do that, you can. I mean, we've done that up to now only with the creative drawings. If you want to do it for your observational drawing and you've got what you need to do it, and I've got an iPad Pro, so it's big, and I've got the Apple Pencil, which is a smart stylus, a very sensitive, pressure-sensitive stylus, which is why this looks so much like a pencil drawing. It's pretty amazing. I'm in an application called Autodesk Sketchbook, which is free, which is like crazy good. I mean, you know Sketchbook because you've been using it a bit for your creative drawing assignments. Anyway, I've started this drawing this morning, and your assignment this week is to drapery, which we did before, but I want you to revisit it, and I'd like you to do it just having worked in Van Gogh's kind of texture style. Now, very, very challenging to draw outdoors, and I appreciate those of you that took it on. I appreciate your willingness to jump in and try it. Now, with that fresh sense memory, come back in. Let's get back to value drawing with pencil. I've got things set up now. I'll show you this hesitantly because just because I want to show you what I'm working with. So I took a photo, but I am not, repeat, not drawing from the photograph. I just wanted to take a photo to show you the setup. Remember in class when we did drapery, we had a strong light. In this case, it's from the right-hand side of the screen, kind of coming across. You can tell all the shadows, the cast shadows on the left. So it's a piece of what you might call draped fabric, and it's hanging on a flat surface. So you get this, the cast shadow on the wall, or in this case, my cabinet. I've got a shirt. Find something that you can hang up on a hanger and then hang on a flat surface, and then put a light. I just moved a lamp in and put it on one side. Turn the overhead light off. Turn this lamp on to create directional light. So again, I don't want you to draw from the photograph, but taking a photo can help a little bit. It can. I mean, if I glance at this right now and squint my eyes, I can really see the big chunks of light and dark. I can really see those strong kind of verticals, those kind of columns of folds, soft folds kind of coming down from the top of the shirt. Look how crisp the collar and the shoulder are, because, that's all the weight of the shirt. Not that it's really heavy, but it's hanging down. And so you see the definition of the shoulders, you might call them, of the hanger. Look, you need some kind of constructed shirt. I don't think a t-shirt is particularly good for this. Something with a collar and with buttons, I think, works better. Don't hang up a sweater, which is all just soft and mushy. You need something with a little bit of a constructed. So I got a collar, I got a placket in front of that, which is that flat thing that the buttons go through down the middle. I've even got French cuffs. So I've got cuffs at the bottom, but they're the kind that like roll up. So something with a little bit of construction to it. So it's not just all soft and drapey. And then here's my sketch. So I've started the sketch, and you can see I've worked quite a bit more kind of on the right side of it than the left, only recently. Now, I did start with the whole thing. I did a first 5-minute drawing, which was very loose and sketchy, and got the basic shapes of like the cuff and the sleeve and the shoulder. I'm still thinking a little bit about texture. Partly, a lot of the texture here is mark making, just my hatch marks, but there is some wood grain stuff happening here. I'm switching back and forth between pencil and eraser. My eraser is a drawing tool, and again, I don't necessarily recommend that you use Sketchbook to do this drawing. Get out a piece of paper and pencil. So I'm talking pencil and physical eraser. But when it came to drawing this white hanger, I did some sketching. Then I got my eraser. I drew through this with my eraser. Then I got my pencil again and added, this like kind of shadow on the side or the bottom of my hanger to give it some three-dimensionality. I've just spent a little time here recently using my eraser. See this part of the, here, I'll get the eraser. This right here, I mean, I'm just kind of going over it too much. But that bit right there where the collar goes up in front of, initially, the hanger, and then wraps around and goes behind the hanger. I had to erase in there and then come back with my pencil and darken around that edge. So there's lots of lines as in marks. There's even a few things that are a little bit outlined. Look at that right along there. You know, get rid of it. But, you know, that's still kind of a line. Will that go away? I don't know, maybe. I mean, that's still kind of an outline there, probably too much of one. But my point is, it's mostly moving towards edges. Look at the top of my shoulder and the point of the shoulder and then the side of the shoulder. That's mostly kind of converted now to edge, not just line. Now, I know when I zoom in, it's just like getting close to your drawing. Now it looks very, very rough, but I'm just really kind of roughing it in. I've started to define the contour a bit. If I go up to this shoulder, and forgive me, I got to take a look at my, you're looking at my screen, I'm looking up at the shirt here. Let's see, so it definitely needs to get, the shape needs to come, whoops, my pencil needs to come down more and kind of definitely curl over here. Just want to try and get that shape right. And then I've got a strong kind of cast shadow behind it, which, now I put these hatch marks in to basically kind of rough in that shape. Up here in the collar there's kind of this strong sideways shadow. Because remember, the light's coming from the right and kind of sweeping over towards the left. That's a little dark out there. I need to get my eraser and just kind of hack away at that a bit. Just lighten it. I would do the exact same thing with a physical eraser if I had one, you know, to work with if I'm working on paper. Then get my pencil again and kind of soften that a little bit more. Because that's what I'm seeing. It's a little bit of a harder shadow over here. Generally speaking, and people were kind of starting to get that, but not necessarily. Over the cast shadow, when you're close to the object, the cast shadow is sharper, and as you get further away from the object, like out here, out on the edge, it gets softer. And you can confirm that just by kind of looking at shadows. So if I zoom in here on this shoulder, you know, I kind of used hatch marks to get this in. I've still kind of got an outline here. If I want to blend this, I want to make this shading part of the background. Sometimes I've got to do hatch marks that are sort of parallel to that shape. So as I add more hatch marks here, going kind of up and down or parallel to the shape, you can see it allows me to create an edge there. So as I look at this, I mean, here, when I talk about edges and using shading to create edges, as I go down here, nobody's wondering, do these dark marks here belong to the shirt or the background? It's the background. And that's because this edge is kind of sharp. This is how this works. This, I use my eraser, this to sharpen even more. This edge is sharp along kind of the inside of that shadow. Look at that. And then out, even though it's a cast shadow, I still could use my pencil more and soften this out here a bit. So I hope you see what I mean by kind of a hard edge as compared to a soft edge, right? It's hard right along here where it meets the shirt. So it's clearly white shirt in front of shaded surface in the background. It's that the fact that it's hard down here where that overlapping happens, shirt overlaps background, combined with the fact that it's soft up here. It gets soft up there. And so it makes it clear that the shading belongs to the background. If I go back here, if I back up out, look at that. That's a white shirt. Look at that shoulder over there. That is a white shirt, shoulder, defined by the hanger underneath, in front of a cast shadow on that surface behind it. So I would like to see more than I have seen from some of you of that attention to edge, which says one side of the edge is very sharp, the other side is soft. You've got to kind of look for them. Because if I zoom in, if I go back to I'll just illustrate it in the photo, although really I'm seeing it up close. I just set this edge. But look, I made it like a bright white shirt, even though I need that sharp edge like I just put there. And you can see it there? That's sharp on down here where the shirt overlaps the background, soft up here, even though it's a pretty strong cast shadow, soft up there. But look, my shirt's not white. I mean, over here where the shoulder, that highlight is, that's much lighter. So I'm still going to have to go back. Now that I've set this corner, I'm still going to have to go back. I'm just looking here. There's kind of like, yeah, this fold on the corner comes in here. Then there's some other folds that come down kind of from above up here. There's a strong shadow here. There's a strong shadow that comes out of here. So it starts to create those tall, remember in the photo, like these tall vertical columns that go up and down. But once I kind of do all that, I'm still going to have to go back. And this whole area here, that whole part of the shirt has to get shaded. So it's still, I haven't lost that edge. I set that edge first. But if you look up there, I'm looking right here. I set that edge first, but then I go back and lightly shade this because it is, this whole side of this whole left side of the shirt is darker than the right side of the shirt because remember the light's coming in from over there. All right, so I would work my way down here and I would think in kind of big chunky terms. I can see there's a big shadow here. You can see how loose I'm being at first, but everything was this loose. There's a big, tall, kind of vertical kind of fold here. There's, of course, still the actual edge of the shirt, and this turns into all cast shadow over here. Sometimes what I do, I got a big shadow way off on one, all down one edge. I'll like, it goes way out here. I'll shade. I know this is pretty dark. I know it's a big kind of shaded area. And only later will I go back in and get my eraser and come right along this edge now. And I'm looking at it as I do it. So set this edge. It kind of bumps out and it comes back kind of straight down a little bit. Then it comes back out again. So I'm looking now. I've just instantly, without thinking about it in these terms, but I just switched to contour. Now I'm thinking about using my eraser. Again, so I set that edge. I'm going to go back with my pencil, and I'm going to make marks that are parallel to the edge and kind of fade them out as I go. That's how you can get rid of that outline. See what I mean? See here, I'm starting, it really is turning into more of an edge right here. Here it's not as much. It's still that weird just sort of chopped off thing. So I'm going to go in and use some hatch marks that are parallel to the edge that I'm defining. So it's not just these diagonal things. It's some marks that go parallel to it. So it's almost like you're drawing the outline back in, but then drawing a whole bunch of reverberating outlines that come out from that. This digital thing does a weird little build up here. I got to kind of erase some of these darker marks sometimes where they get just extra dark. But you can see, if I zoom out and then switch back, you can see that edge on the left? This left, I'm just sort of setting that in. Now look at this big kind of, this big thing. I've just started to get in. I mean, there's this big vertical thing, whoops, pencil, this big sort of twisting spine of a wrinkle that goes all the way top to bottom. I mean, it is really big and kind of dramatic, and it's like really dark in here, and then really dark on the other side of that big wrinkle. That's the main story of that sleeve, that huge kind of wrinkle that's like a spine. So I really wanted to kind of show you how to create that sort of an edge. I know this is a complicated subject in a sense. There are so many ins and outs. Don't forget that technique that I taught you when we drew fabric previously, chunking. I did a first 5-minute drawing here. I got the main big overall shape and proportion of my shirt, and then I went back and chunked it. Basically, there's 4 main chunks, 2 sleeves and 2 halves to the front of the shirt. But then there's also collar and cuffs. So those are kind of mini chunks. And then, of course, the background, upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right. those are kind of like L-shaped chunks in the corners, the negative space between the edge of my page. You know, this whole space, let's see, this whole space up here. You know, that's another chunk. So, you know, there's 4 chunks in the background too. Chunk it. Once you've done the first 5 minute drawing, you get the basic layout of everything on the page, so you know you're not going to run off the page. For this drawing, you want the whole thing on there. So don't forget to chunk before you get down to the kind of details I've been doing. With regard to, you know, you've got this soft flowing fabric, but then I said you've got to have some constructed elements. Use something that's got like a placard and some buttons or a collar and some cuffs. So it's not just all soft, kind of flowy. Don't hang a flowy, long, drapey cardigan up. It's going to look totally shapeless. You need